You see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles. And you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the Dean Obeidallah Show, brothers and sisters of the resistance. It is Tuesday, February 26th. Hoping to be here on BFF. A lot going on. And I don't want to get your hopes up too high. But tomorrow, Michael Cohen testimony, the public one, could very well be the first hearing that ultimately leads to the impeachment of Donald J. Trump. And I'm saying historians might look back and say that. I'm not sure now, but I'm telling you there's potential for that. But even regardless of that, put that to the side. Our focus on this show has always been one way to take Trump out. November 3rd, 2020. We have to organize, get involved like we did in 2018 and take the White House. But with that said, tomorrow could be big. I mean, really potentially big. And we'll go through it. We'll lay it all out here. And the Republicans are freaking out. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, or Sarah Suckabee as I call her, and Congressman Matt Gaetz or whatever jackass did witness tampering, and we'll talk about it later in the show from a legal point of view, trying to threaten Michael Cohen not to testify tomorrow. And to me, that has the fingerprints of Donald Trump all over it. But let's look at the big picture, folks. And honestly, because tomorrow Michael Cohen will testify. Michael Cohen has certain credibility problems. He already testified under oath and pled guilty to lying to Congress already. He is a guy with questionable credibility on certain topics. But that does not mean what he's going to say tomorrow is not believable and not credible. And I think to assess it accurately and objectively, you have to take a step back and look at the entire relationship between Donald Trump and Michael Cohen to understand how well they knew each other, how much Donald Trump relied on him. So when Michael Cohen says tomorrow what we think he might say, and we'll get into it in a few minutes, it's believable. It's credible. It makes sense. And I mean common sense. You'd say, of course he knew that. So let's start at the right place. Let's start at the beginning. Simply enough, it all began 2001. That's when Michael Cohen first got on Donald Trump's radar. He bought a property at Trump World Tower Apartments in New York City. Over the years, Michael Cohen acquired more properties from Donald Trump. They got to know each other. In 2006, there was a condo dispute in one of Trump's buildings where Michael Cohen lived, and Michael Cohen became the knight in shining armor and helped Donald Trump out. And Donald Trump thanked Michael Cohen. In fact, he publicly praised him in 2007 after this. This is the big favor. You might have heard Donald Trump say, Michael Cohen did me a favor years ago. That's why he worked for me. This was the favor. He helped him with a condo board dispute. At the time, Trump said to the New York Post, Michael Cohen has great insight into the real estate market. He's a very smart person. He's very smart. You know, that's Trump. In fact, he liked him so much. He was so smart in 2007, Donald Trump offered Michael Cohen a job. Now, Michael Cohen already was a lawyer. He offered him a job, not like, in the legal staff, not like a guy in the office down the hall. He offered him a very specific job. He offered him the job as executive vice president of Trump Organization. The very same title at the time that Donald Trump Jr. held Ivanka and Eric Trump. But in the case of Michael Cohen, he actually worked. He was there. He was and for 11 years, they worked very, very, very closely together. They were best of friends, as much as you can be a friend for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump's nobody's friend. He's like a reptile. And in his first years on the job, he worked with Ivanka Trump, looking at potential golf course deals in Fresno, California. Later, he was named by Trump as chief operating officer of a company called Affliction Entertainment, a mixed martial arts venture to do business and develop media properties. Where? In Russia, of course. That was 2008. So you had him going to the old Soviet Union. In 2011, when Donald Trump first thought of running for president, he thought about running for the GOP nomination, he sent one person to Iowa to represent him, to speak to the media and GOP leaders. And who was that one person that he entrusted with this really important objective and goal? Michael Cohen. That's who went to Iowa for him. Over the years, we all know Michael Cohen has been referred to as the fixer and the pit bull. He is no stranger to controversy. His fierce loyalty to Trump knows no bounds. In 2000, 2015, during the early part of the campaign, Michael Cohen actually threatened another writer at the Daily Beast, where I write weekly, about an article they were writing on Ivana Trump, saying that she had made allegations that Trump had raped her when they were together. And he said, Michael Cohen said to the reporter, "I'm warning you, tread very effing lightly, because what I'm going to do to you is going to be effing disgusting." That's the kind of guy he was. In fact, Michael Cohen bragged, and it's not hard to find numerous clips bragging how much he loved Trump and how important he was to Trump. And here is one thing cut together, various clips over the years from various news stories showing how much Michael Cohen and Trump were close together. And again, I'm doing this to paint the picture. When you hear attacks that he's just a liar and nothing he's saying is true, you realize how closely they worked together for so many years. If he was such a liar to Donald Trump, if he was so untrustworthy, why did Donald Trump trust him so much? So let's hear clip number 1.
For years, he has served as one of Donald Trump's personal attorneys. He has publicly fought accusations against Trump University and claims of sexual impropriety against Trump. He's also been a relentless defender of his clients' political positions.
When Mr. Trump talks about it being a rigged system, there's really two parts to it. The first is the media, and the second is the voter fraud.
If there's an issue that relates to Mr. Trump that is of concern to him, it's of course concern to me. And I will use my legal skills within which to protect Mr. Trump to the best of my ability.
And I will do anything to protect Mr. Trump.
But you bring a fight to Donald Trump, he's going to take that fight.
I've never come across a situation where Mr. Trump has said something that's not accurate.
So there you go. You got a lot going on there with Michael Cohen. And when the investigation began by Robert Mueller, where was Michael Cohen? Michael Cohen was out in the media parroting the very words of Donald Trump. So here is Michael Cohen when they were still buddies, early 2017. Clip number 2.
A total fishing expedition. That's how the president's attorney, Michael Cohen, described a congressional request for him to testify in the Russian probe, rejecting it outright. Cohen says the congressional investigations into any possible links between the Trump team and the Russians are utterly without evidence. And while he's not rushing to explain anything to Congress, he is calling the congressional probes a rush to judgment.
So there you go, calling a rush to judgment. So they're buddies. You're getting the sense. Michael Cohen, Donald Trump, close friends. In fact, when Donald Trump had the most trusted thing he needed done in the closing days of the election, he had to silence 2 women who were going to come forward, Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels, who could hurt his campaign. At the time, don't forget, the whole Access Hollywood tape was swirling. He didn't want women coming forward who actually could prove that they had affairs with Donald Trump. Who did he turn to? Who did he turn to? He turned to the one and only Michael Cohen. In fact, here is some of that tape of Michael Cohen talking to Donald Trump. Here's clip. We'll jump to clip number 6.
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David, so that I'm going to do that right away. I've actually come up and I've spoken to Alan Weisselberg about how to set the whole thing up with funding. Yes. And it's all the stuff, because you never know where that company, you never know where he's going to be. Correct. So I'm all over that. And I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be.
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So no. I got no.
There they are, working together to silence women who are going to come forward in the closing days of the campaign. You only would call someone in like that to commit a crime, which they did, who you really trust, because you know you're committing a crime. And when Michael Cohen was first being investigated and they raided his office in April 2018, Donald Trump was still there defending his buddy, his BFF, Michael Cohen. In fact, here's a clip of him upset that Michael Cohen's office was raided. Clip number 4.
So I just heard that they broke into the office of one of my personal attorneys, good man, and it's a disgraceful situation. It's a total witch hunt, and it's a disgrace. It's frankly a real disgrace. It's an attack on our country in a true sense.
There they were, BFFs. And you know what? In fact, I think they would have remained that to this day, but for fate. And by fate, I mean Robert Mueller. Because they were good friends. There's Donald Trump defending him, saying it's a witch hunt. I can't believe they investigated and went through his office. And everything all changed. This love affair ended October 21st, 2018, when Michael Cohen pled guilty in Manhattan federal court and implicated Donald Trump directly, saying that in coordination at the direction of a candidate for federal office, who of course was Donald Trump, he made payments to women to violate the campaign finance laws. And then Donald Trump, of course, flipped instantly. And here is Donald Trump right after that, standing outside, talking to the reporters, slamming him. Clip number 5.
Go back and look at the paper that Michael Cohen wrote before he testified in the House and/or Senate. It talked about his position, what he's trying to do, because he's a weak person and not a very smart person. So very simply, Michael Cohen is lying, and he's trying to get a reduced sentence for things that have nothing to do with me.
There you go. It's unbelievable. Like the switch has flipped. In April of that very year, just months before, great guy. This is so ridiculous. Witch hunt. A few months later, whoop, got to go. And just to bring you up on speed, because I know there's a lot of issues. With the Mueller investigation, the worst part of it is that it is so comprehensive. It is so varied. There are so many players. So let's to keep Michael Cohen clear. What happened? August, he pleads guilty to and implicates Donald Trump. November 29th, he pleads guilty to making false statements to Congress. He said he was doing that out of loyalty to Trump. And on December 12th, he was sentenced to 3 years in jail for tax evasion, campaign finance law violations, and for lying to Congress. And to sum it up, these guys were buddies from 2007 to 2018. He was his closest friend. He was the guy he relied on to get things done. And let's be honest, in your own life, if you have something really, really important, something extremely important to your career, your life, who do you rely on? Do you rely on someone you think is a liar and untrustworthy, or someone, the most trusted person you have, that you know you can trust to do anything you need to get done? And that's who's Michael Cohen. So when you hear the attacks by Donald Trump and the right about Michael Cohen being a liar, remember, Donald Trump hired him. He trusted him. And Donald Trump likes to be surrounded by liars, and that's a whole different discussion. Why does he like Michael Cohen, Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, George Papadopoulos? The criminals like other criminals. So what's going to happen? We had the first testifying today was private session. Tomorrow is the public session. We're all going to see this starting 10 a.m. tomorrow. We'll cover it at great length tomorrow. Then Thursday will be another private session with Michael Cohen. You won't get to see that. We'll get to hear leaks. Tomorrow, the question is, what will we see on national television? Well, what we know from the reporting right now is that Michael Cohen will testify about criminal conduct by Trump after he assumed the presidency, and he has documents to help support it. So even if there's questions about credibility, there you go. We're going to have some documents. The House Oversight Committee Chair, Elijah Cummings, laid out in a memo certain areas they're going to question about. They cannot ask about the Russian conspiracy investigation. What they can ask about, and what they are going to ask about, Trump's compliance with campaign finance laws, tax laws, business practices, inappropriate practices. Did he try to intimidate Cohen? And Sarah Sanders today gave us a preview of the attacks by the right. She put out a statement saying, disgraced felon Michael Cohen is going to prison for lying to Congress and making other false statements. Sadly, he'll go before Congress this week, and we can expect more of the same. It's laughable that anyone would take a convicted liar like Cohen at his word, and pathetic to see him given another opportunity to spread his lies. This is Donald Trump's good friend who, up until April, he continued to defend publicly. The man he trusted with the most sensitive work in the world. And now we're supposed to believe he's an absolute liar on every issue. He could be. Michael Cohen could be lying. Of course, he'd be getting more criminal penalties for perjury tomorrow if he did that. Or Michael Cohen could have seen the light and realized he wanted to see his family again before he got too old to leave prison, and is now telling the truth. That is the scenario that I think that's going on. And I'm going to tell you, I think history will look back and say, if I'm right, that tomorrow is the first hearing into the impeachment of Donald Trump. Tomorrow is that day. I think we're going to look back in history and go, that was the day it all began. Because this is the first testimony in Congress about Donald Trump's criminality. It's going to be on national TV. This is like Watergate in the 1970s. This is like Peter Rodino, the House Judiciary Committee. And he's from Jersey, so I know who he is. Who was the chair of House Judiciary during that time. That's what tomorrow might be. We will see. So I'd love to hear from you. We've got time. You're my guest at the top of the hour. We've got a lot of great guests on today. Richard Painter is going to be on the top of the hour. Richard Painter, you see all the time on MSNBC, doing a great job, former ethics lawyer, to talk about what we expect to see, the criminality. We've got Naira Haq, and then we have Danny Savalas in the third hour to break it down and a bunch of other issues. I want to hear from you now, though. Do you trust Michael Cohen? Do you think he's a liar? When you have a debate between two liars, does one cancel out the other? And let's keep something in mind, and it's a point Danny Savalas has made many times. People are convicted every single day in our criminal justice system by liars, by criminals, because they're working with the state. And juries believe them over and over. Even though you call out that they have their own self-interest involved, they get believed. So let's take a break. I want to hear from you, 866-997-4748. And also when we come back, I'll talk about Matt Gaetz, the congressman, Donald Trump's Florida buddy, who I say committed a crime. And I tweeted about it and it got retweeted a lot. He witness tampering, threatening Michael Cohen just about an hour ago on Twitter. We'll come back, we'll talk about that and take your calls right here on the Dean Obeidallah Show.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
I think Trump clips that they play on the media should come with a health warning saying that if you watch this, you'll get dumber. Never has somebody said so much stupid in so little time as Donald Trump does.
SiriusXM Progress.